Alright guys, so I do have a problem, and if you can't immediately tell, it's these headlights. Like, I can really barely see anything out of these. Of course, these are just standard, you know, 2002 halogen housings and bulbs, but with just the normal, there's some regular bulbs in here. This is all I can really see. I know the camera's not really gonna pick it up. See if I can turn the ISO up a little bit, but I can't see much. You know, I turn my high beams on, they don't do a whole lot either. So I think I can go ahead and get on Amazon real quick, see what I can get. Now that I'm pretty confident how this thing is running, I think I can start working on something like this. This should be a pretty quick fix. I think I can make a huge difference in just a little bit of time with a little bit of money. So get back to the garage. I'll show you guys what I'm working with. Alright, so what's going on, guys? So in today's video, I'm going to be addressing a few things. Mainly, me and my tuner were looking at it. We found out that we have, or we think anyway, an exhaust leak, which is causing, of course, slower spool up and is giving him some trouble with tuning. So I'm going to go back in here and look to see what I can find. Now, he already told me once before that he thought I had one. I did. It's kind of a quick check, went through, tightened all the bolts, everything. I didn't see anything. So I'm gonna go a little bit deeper in here, see if I can find out what the problem is. Like, so basically at this point, what I'm gonna do is just start checking all the mating points. So I've already pulled the manifold and checked the gasket to make sure there wasn't any exhaust leaking there. And just by the way, with that, it's pretty easy to spot an exhaust leak because typically you'll see an area of the gasket or even the cylinder head or, you know, the flange that'll be black because that's where exhaust is escaping. But anyway, so I didn't see any of that there. So I'm just gonna move on down to the turbo, check that gasket, and then just move on down to the downpipe until I find the leak, because it has to be in there somewhere. Like, and of course it is a bit of a setback, but I do appreciate them taking the time as opposed to just, you know, throwing a bunch of fuel at it, tell me to up the boost, and, you know, then me blowing the thing up a little bit down the road. So he is being really cautious. I do appreciate that. It is extremely inconvenient, but again, these things happen. I'm trying to document for you guys exactly what happens when you have a project car, especially when you're like myself, you're not professional. Again, I welded the exhaust, of course, with my flux welder, so that, who knows what the issue could be. I'm gonna go ahead and pull it out and get going on that. I'm also gonna do something about these headlights. So of course, I do a lot of my tuning at night. And one, of course, these headlights are old. Again, the car is 2002. You can imagine the halogen bulbs in these things aren't that great, and they're also fogged over pretty badly. And they even have a little bit of overspray on them for where I first, you know, painted the bumpers. Didn't really care too much because I had different plans. But now, like I said, I'm going to keep these. So I definitely need to do some work with these guys. So for that, I'm going to be using this here. So what this is just a 3M headlight kit. Again, link for this will be down in the description. I've used this before. It's pretty simple. All you need in addition to this is a drill. These are all just drill attachments with a couple different grits of sandpaper and a polisher. Now I'm also going to hit it with some 1K clear. I don't need it to last that long, especially because the car does stay inside the garage most of the time. So I'm gonna get that done, and then also my goal is to actually make this car pass inspection. So of course it is due for an inspection. It's been due since October. There's a lot of ways, less than legal ways, that you can go about getting an inspection done, and those of course come with a price tag. I actually want to get this car to have a legitimate inspection. So with that, I went ahead and ordered this right here. So this is a high flow, right, 3-inch cat. So of course you see my exhaust. Hey, look at all that restriction. But my exhaust is a 3-inch. Well, it's like a full 3-inch. It's a 3-inch downpipe that then mates to that aftermarket. I think it's like 2.5-inch exhaust. That I fitted on here earlier. But with this, again, it should allow me to pass the inspection. Of course, it actually has a bung in it for an O2 sensor, which I won't be needing. But this should help me take care of that. And once again, I'm going to be doing this all with my handy dandy flux welder. And then, of course, at the end of the video, we're going to take it for a drive. We're going to see what the difference has made. So, of course, I actually put the silencer back in the car. Like, I may or may not have already shown you guys what that sounds like. But it's really quiet with the silencer in, and I'm not really sure if I like it or not. Like, part of me likes it because the car is so docile. You can sit in it. It's extremely quiet. It already wasn't loud to begin with, I thought. Like, but now it almost sounds stock, at least until you get on it. And of course, that wastegate, the dump tube opens up, and you hear that thing scream. But it's very, very deceiving if you didn't know what was going on. It's part of the reason I thought about painting this intercooler black, especially because this is a symmetrical intercooler. So theoretically, I could paint it black, and then if I didn't like the look or wanted to go back, I could just take it off, flip it around, and have the silver look again. But with all that said, I'm gonna get to it, checking things out. You can get this from Amazon for like 12 bucks or so. In the auto parts store, it actually costs closer to 20, which is ridiculous. I do recommend supporting your local businesses whenever possible, just to kind of keep them around. But I support myself first, and they're charging twice as much for the same thing. But anyway, so I'm gonna go ahead, break this out, and show you what's in this. So like I said, guys, this is a pretty simple kit. All you're gonna need in addition to this is a drill. You do want to have a pretty good drill with this. So actually, the first time I used this kit, I had like a cheapo, my first homeowner's type drill, and I actually burned the motor out. So you want to have something that's gonna be able to withstand like constant use, because all we're gonna do is basically you attach this part to the drill, and you have different grits of sandpaper, everything from, I'm not sure what the lightest one in here, but they get increasingly finer. And then of course you have your little polishing pad, and of course this is the piece that attaches to your drill, and all this other stuff. It has Velcro on this hook and loop, whatever you want to call it, on the back of it, so it just sticks to that, and that's how it's secured. Now for me doing this, of course there's a couple options. You don't have to remove the headlights from the car. If you can just make sure you do a good job and tape up around them. But just for kind of simplicity's sake, I'm going to go ahead and remove the headlights from the car. Now on most cars, it's pretty simple. The headlights are normally just held in by 4 bolts, some of which may be hidden by the bumper or maybe some of the grill. You just really have to look around and see what you have. Of course, on this car, there's one here. I think there's one back in here, and then there's one like up under here. Now as of right now, my bumper is still held on with zip ties, just because I know, I'm still in the process of getting everything worked out, and I want to be able to remove this thing pretty easily. So I did want to show you guys the headlight bolts. There's one in this corner. There's one actually behind the grill. With you guys, you can't see that, but it's actually right there behind the grill. There's another one at the bottom, again behind the grill. You can stick your impact or your socket, your extension, whatever, through the grill and get to it. And the other one is actually, and the other one is actually on the inside of the fender, which I just noticed is missing. Right here on the inside of the headlight. Again, you can't see it, but trust me, it is there. And that's how you remove the headlight. It comes out pretty easily. So like I said, the top, the 2 ones behind the grill, and then this one over here that is in that corner. I got the headlights off. I got one up here, one over here. All you're gonna need first is you want to clean the headlight with some soap and water. Now, of course, I keep this little spray bottle around with soap and water, so I'm just gonna spray this down, wipe it off with microfiber cloth just to remove any excess debris. All right, so with that done, we're going to attach the yellow or gold sanding disc to your drill. It's actually a 500 grit sandpaper, and we're gonna get started with that. So a quick tip with this: as you're sanding, you don't want to use a lot of pressure, really much pressure. Let the drill do all the work, and just kind of guide it. You don't want to put any deep gouges in it. Then it says 500 grit sandpaper, so it is gonna be forgiving, but just take your time, let the drill do the work. Don't use a whole lot of pressure. So alright guys, so after a quick pass, this is what it looks like. So in doing this, the first thing you'll notice is there's a lot more imperfections in the headlight than you would have initially seen. I have pretty deep scratches that are here, as well as you can see where the clear coat was kind of fading at in the line it makes. So what you're trying to accomplish with the 500 grit is to get all that smooth over. The subsequent stages will be just polishing up whatever scratches that you left. So this looks okay. I'm gonna go back over it. The first time I went from side to side. This time I'm going to go more up and down and to try to smooth over all these areas. All right guys, so this is what the headlight looks like after the 500 grit yellow pad. They give you enough really where you can use multiple pads on each headlight and really to do 2 sets. But I definitely recommend you take your time, especially depending on how bad yours are. So now we just got to spray this down and wipe it off to really inspect it to see, do I have any more like really deep scratches or any more of that old clear coating that needs to be removed. So just real quick, I think it is looking pretty even. Don't see anything major. Right, so now I'm going to move these white 800 grit pads and just go over it. Now, again, this kit doesn't cost that much, so I would definitely recommend just going ahead and using, you know, one kit per set of headlights. Again, it's worth it, especially if it's on your own like personal vehicle. Now, so I'm gonna slap this on here. I'm gonna go over it probably 15 times or so, at least, and then move on to the final one, which is this 3000 grit almost sponge. Now, with this one, you want to wet sand it, and the same thing. Do another 12 to 15 passes with this and some water. So you're gonna spray the headlight down, spray this down, and get it done. And then the last step, of course, at least with this kit, is your foam pad and the rubbing compound. So you're just going to put a little bit of this on here, do the same thing, make a couple passes, just wipe it off. So once you get done with that, your finished product is going to look something like this. Now, we can just take a look back at what they used to look like and what this looks like now. And I'm still not completely done with it. I'm actually going to clean it up again and then clear coat these. They're still not quite done, but they've come a long way and they look amazing so far. Alright, so here we go. I think I'm about done with my 3000 grit. Now I'm just going to spray this down. But it's not quite there yet. It's not quite at that point. But the only thing remains is, of course, to hit it with the rubbing compound. And then we'll be done with this kit. And there we have it. It is freshly wiped down and all nice and clean. And I tell you, this kit is amazing. I think for 12 bucks, you can't really beat it. Like, definitely well worth it in my opinion. Now, one thing you may notice down here, this is actually inside of the light. So of course, it's not going to fix that. In order to get to that, you're going to have to take, you know, the plastic lens off, and that is a video for another day. So I'm just going to get these sprayed down again with some soapy water, because now I'm going to get them ready to be clear coated. All right, guys. So the headlights are installed on the car. The next step is to replace the bulbs. Now for this, I went with some conventional halogen bulbs, but a higher quality. So these should give me closer to a white light. Now these aren't going to have the intensity of an LED or HID, but again, a little PSA, do not put LEDs or HIDs in these type of reflector-based housings. Those are the people that you see riding down the road who are blinding everybody. And there are some good halogen bulbs that can get rid of that old yellow look without causing problems for everybody else around you. Like, so HIDs and LEDs are made specifically for a certain type of projector-based housing, not these reflector-based housings. All right, guys, so there you go. So that's the old bulb that was in it versus the new bulb. So I'm not sure if this is going to pick this up on camera or not. So you can see this one is very yellow, almost a goldish color, where this one is noticeably whiter. And I don't think it's going to pick it up on camera, but it's still yellow, so it's not, again, LED type white. So now all I have to do is wait for it to get dark and take the car out and show you guys the difference. Alright guys, so got a bit of a story. My night didn't go exactly according to plan. Of course, I took it out to do some more tuning pulls, because again, we're still not done. And also to show you guys the results of the lights. The good news is these new bulbs, I'm actually really impressed with these new bulbs. Again, for just being halogen bulbs, they are tons better than the old ones. And again, if you're going to stick with these old housings like this, you don't want to put LEDs and HIDs bulbs in these, because you're just going to be blinding other people. A lot of people say, well, they're not that bad, but if you really pull up to a wall and really measure your light output, that's when you can really see it. Of course, with an LED, HID, whatever, in a proper housing, you'll have a very distinct cutoff. Whereas with these sort of housings, you're going to get a lot of scattered light. And it's really just going to be causing problems for other people. So anyway, so with all that aside, now into the fun part. So I went out, I did a pull, I was trying to get a few more logs. And after a pull, all of a sudden, the car started making this loud noise. And it wouldn't let me rev to above like 3 grand, and it was really struggling. But fortunately, I was able to limp the car back home, and I already had my suspicions as to what was going on. But of course, I had to check just in hopes that it wasn't as bad as I thought it was. But the noise I was hearing was actually increasing with RPM. So that's pretty much a dead giveaway of what it was. But of course, I wanted to check a few other things. Anyway, I did drain the oil, and of course, my oil looks almost metallic. So seems that I've spun a rod bearing in this thing, which is unfortunate. You know, 186,000 miles what I bought this car with, and that's a good amount of miles on any car. And then you consider I'm trying to, you know, double the horsepower output of this thing. So I've had a few issues here and there. Of course, I've documented these for you guys. I want to show you guys the actual what it's like to actually have a project car. I feel like there's too much kind of on YouTube and just put out there. It's like, oh yeah, I built this car and it's up and it's running and everything's been great. But this is what happens. It's gonna have issues, some big, some small. It's just bound to happen. Especially, like I said, I took this car. Didn't know anything about its history and just started adding performance parts to it. Like, so it is unfortunate. It's definitely kind of a bummer. I was hoping to really be able to drive this car, and it's gonna push some of my other plans back. Like, but it can be fixed. I just really have to decide what I'm gonna do moving forward. But of course, I'll update you guys that on a later video because I know this one is already getting kind of long. And it was supposed to be about the headlights, which good news again. They look great. The headlight bulbs work fine, so thumbs up for those. Links for those will be down in the description. But I'll update you guys as far as the spun bearing in a later video. But I want to thank you guys for watching my video. If you haven't already, make sure you hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Continue to share my videos. Have a great day.